Hey, what's up there, YouTubers? Edgemans and a Job coming to you guys here today with another deck tech. Today we are going to be stepping away from Standard and Modern, and we're going to be jumping on into Legacy. Now, while my stronger points are playing in Standard and Modern formats, I do still play enough Legacy to know what's going on, what the decks do, how things interact, and what stuff that you need to watch out for. So, I decided I was going to show you guys my Dredge deck here today, and the nice thing about it is this deck isn't really too expensive to play for Legacy. Most Legacy decks are extremely expensive, and you have to down a lot of money in order to actually get a lot of good cards. But the nice thing about this one is we're not running Lion's Eye Diamond, and that's... without running that playset, that's a $200 difference in this deck from decks that would be playing Lion's Eye Diamond. But those ones obviously are going to work a little bit better. They have the more expensive card that's going to interact better. But for the sake of this one, it's kind of like a easier thing to get into if you want to play something for Legacy. This is a very fun deck. So we're going to take a look at it. We are going to see how it works. And I'm just going to kind of quickly go over why I run things and how those certain things interact. So if you guys have any suggestions for decks that you would like to see, please leave that down in the comments below. And if you want to see the previous deck techs that I've covered, there's a link down in the description that has all the decks archived. So the first thing that we are taking a look at here is the land base. So we're running 15 lands, which may sound really weird to people that are used to playing like Standard and stuff like that, because around there, it's usually like 22 to 24 lands if you're playing some sort of aggro deck, and somewhere up to 27 lands if you're playing control. But as far as Dredge goes, we're only running 15 lands, and they are Gemstone Mine, so we have a play set, and this is going to provide any color of mana that we need. So we have a play set of that. Then we also are going to have a playset of City of Brass. So City of Brass deals 1 damage to us and also taps for any 1 color of mana to our mana pool, which is going to be nice. Then we have Tarnished Citadel. So more Legacy players like to debate of whether Tarnished Citadel is better or Undiscovered Paradise is better, and when it comes down to it, the reason why I run Tarnished Citadel, and this will make more sense to Legacy players, is you run into days a lot whenever you're playing Legacy, and whenever you're running Undiscovered Paradise, it makes it so much harder to actually be able to deal with days. It's just going to be a really annoying interaction. It also makes Cephalid Coliseum a little bit harder to use, more so earlier on than later, but nonetheless, Undiscovered Paradise and Tarnished Citadel both have their drawbacks, but I like Tarnished Citadel's drawback a little bit better, where whenever you tap it for any color of mana to your mana pool, it deals 3 damage to you, which it is a lot, but most games I'm going to be taking like 12 damage, somewhere around there, but I still end up winning, so it doesn't really matter. But we're running 3 of the Citadels for our deck here. And then we had Cephalid Coliseum. So this one's a nice card because it provides blue mana for us. It is going to deal damage, but it's Threshold, which we can activate if we have 7 or more permanents in our graveyard. For 1 blue, tap, sacrifice the Coliseum. A target player draws 3 cards and then discards 3 cards. So that's going to be... we're going to be able to dredge 3 times off of that and then get those Dredge cards into the grave again. So we have a playset of that, but I'll explain how Dredge works a little bit better whenever we have the rest of our cards and the draw stuff going on and revealed. So we have Golgari Grave-Troll, so he's a 5 cost, but that's not really relevant to us. And he dredges for 6. So he is the most powerful Dredge card that we have in here. And the way Dredge works is if Golgari Grave-Troll is in your graveyard whenever you're about to draw a card, so if it's your draw step or if you play a spell that's going to make you draw a card, instead you can take Golgari Grave-Troll back into your hand and then mill yourself for 6 cards. So that's exactly what we want to do with this deck. We have a lot of graveyard interaction and we want to get the majority of our deck into our grave so that we can do other things that synergize and will just bash our opponent. The nice thing about him is if we don't get Flame-Kin Zealot, then we can also return him to the battlefield, and he's a threat. And he also regenerates, but Flame-Kin Zealot is the more desired pick just because we can do everything kind of in a turn. But like I said, we'll get to that later. So we have a playset of Golgari Grave-Troll. He, like I said, is the most powerful dredger that we have in this deck. So we're going to put him off to the side here. Next we have Stinkweed Imp. So Dredge for 5, second most powerful in the deck. So we have a playset of him as well. Then we have Golgari Thug. So we are running 3 of him, and he dredges for 4. So all of these cards are going to be desired targets whenever we're drawing cards and stuff like that to get the rest of our library into our grave. From there, even though we are able to dredge, we're going to still have those cards in our hand, and we don't want to have them in our hand. We want them to be in our grave. So the way things are going to work is we need some cards to be able to get those dredge cards back into the grave. So one of them is Putrid Imp. So you can discard a card and give it flying, which is irrelevant really. He is a 1 black, and you can just keep on using his ability to discard cards. So anything we want to be in our grave, we can get it into our grave with Putrid Imp. So we have a playset of him. Then we have Cabal Therapy. So aside from letting us get stuff from our own hand into the grave, it's also going to be nice because you can name cards that are going to be threats. Stuff like Force of Will and anything that's really annoying, because once you start dredging, your opponent really can't do anything with Force of Will except go for your... they can go for your reanimating targets and counter your reanimation, but once you start dredging, the real cards that they want to get rid of and not let go through are going to be all of your draw spells. So Cabal Therapy is going to make it a little bit easier on us. We can name Force of Will if we want to, but more times than none, Cabal Therapy is used to actually just get rid of our own cards from our hand and name them off and just kind of work with Cabal Therapy. It also has a flashback, which is going to work with Bridge from Below as well. And the flashback is sacrificing a creature, which it doesn't say that it has to be a non-token creature. So once we're making tokens, we can keep on sacrificing those to make sure that our reanimation goes through. So we have a playset of Cabal Therapy. Another way to discard cards, and this is also getting into the draw spells, we have Careful Study, so draw 2 cards, then discard 2 cards. So many of you guys will be more familiar with this as Faithless Looting, as the pretty much same ability, and we also do run Faithless Looting in this deck. But the nice thing about Careful Study is you get to dredge 2 times. So if you have, let's say you have Golgari Grave-Troll, you play Careful Study, you can do, instead of drawing the first card, Golgari Grave-Troll, dredge 6. If you get another dredger in the grave, you can dredge that card then, and discard 2 cards so you can take both of your dredge cards and put them back into the grave, and just kind of keep the cycle going from that. But Careful Study, running a playset of it. And then we have Faithless Looting, so pretty much the same thing. This card synergizes much better with Lion's Eye Diamond because it provides 3 mana for you, and the flashback for this is 3 mana. But we still run it in the deck because it's like running 8 Careful Studies. So, again, lets you dredge 2 times. From there we have Breakthrough. So Breakthrough is a absolutely enormous dredge card for us. Well, dredge draw card for us. Because for 1 blue we can draw 4 cards, then choose 0 cards in our hand and discard the rest from them. So what this is going to mean for us is we can Golgari Grave-Troll into dredge, into another dredge target, into another dredge target, into another dredge target, and get the vast majority of our deck into the grave and set it up for reanimation of Flame-Kin Zealot. And from there, it's pretty much a win. Breakthrough is one of the biggest ways to just get the bulk of your deck into your grave. So we run a playset of it, and usually the X is going to be 0, just because it's a 1 blue to dredge 4 times. Then we have our interactions with the grave. So Bridge from Below, whenever a non-token creature is put into our graveyard from play, if Bridge from Below is in your graveyard, put a 2/2 black zombie creature token into play. So the more of them we have, the more tokens we're going to be able to play. Also, it's going to work well with stuff like Cabal Therapy, and also Dredge Return. So that's going to be the nice thing about it. Just being able to get more things, but then whenever you get your tokens, you can also Cabal Therapy, name the threat that your opponent may have in their hand, and just make sure that you're actually able to reanimate your Zealot and win. But we have 4 Bridge from Below, and you want to dredge these and just be able to interact with the creatures dying and get a lot of tokens. Next we have Ichorid. So it's one of the ways that we can get creatures to actually interact with sacrificing them. So we're running 3 Ichorid here. At the beginning of our upkeep, we can exile a black creature from our graveyard, and he comes back until the end of the turn, and then at the end of the turn you have to sacrifice him. So Ichorid's going to be one of those ways to stack up your creatures and prepare for the reanimation. But other than that, he's also going to fuel Bridge from Below if it's a little bit of a slower game. And also Cabal Therapy if you want to Cabal Therapy and get rid of more stuff. But Ichorid is a really nice target. Most of the time, the way we're going to get him back out is getting rid of Putrid Imp that's in our grave. That's the most desired thing. But if we have our Golgari Grave-Trolls, if we have like 4 of them that we're cycling through, we can start doing Golgari Thug and Stinkweed Imp if we have to, if it's a little bit slower of a game. But 3 Ichorid. And then we have Necromoeba, or Narcomoeba. I always like to call it Necromoeba just because Necromancy, but Narcomoeba is one of the best things that can work out in this deck, because if you end up getting it from your deck into the grave, if you mill it, it comes out onto the battlefield. So this is again going to fuel Cabal Therapy and the reanimation. But overall, you don't want to have these like in your opening hand and stuff like that. You want to have these in your deck, dredge them, and then put them onto the battlefield and fuel sacrificing cards that require sacrificing. So playset of Narcomoeba. And then we have Dread Return. So Dread Return is our reanimation spell that I keep on talking about. So it has a flashback of sacrificing 3 creatures. So the way that that's going to work is you want to have 3 creatures on the battlefield, whether they are Putrid Imps, Narcomoebas, Ichorids, whatever they are. We want to sacrifice 3 of them and be able to get back Flame-Kin Zealot from our grave onto the battlefield. So we run 2 of these. There's really no necessity in running a playset of them. It actually just ends up kind of junking up your deck, because if you have a lot of them, you really don't have a need for them. It's also not smart to just run 1 copy of it, but at the same time, 2 has been working really nicely. You use 1, you reanimate. If you have to reanimate Golgari Grave-Troll, it still works, but it's not as good as getting Flame-Kin Zealot. So 2 Dread Return for our reanimation. And then we have Flame-Kin Zealot. So whenever he comes into the battlefield, creatures we control get +1/+1 and gain haste until the end of the turn. So the nice thing about him is whenever you get him from your grave onto the battlefield with Dread Return, the more 2/2 zombie tokens you've made, the easier it's gonna be to win, because they're all gonna be 3/3s and have haste, and you just bash face with them. So if you have like 4 Bridge from Belows in your grave, and then you sacrifice 3 creatures to do Dread Return on Flame-Kin Zealot, each of those 3 are going to trigger for each Bridge from Below. So you're going to get 12 back. Flame-Kin Flame-Kin Zealot comes back, gives them all +1/+1 in haste, and that's one of the easiest ways to win with this deck. So from a really distant standpoint, that's how Dredge works. It's not really that complicated as people think it is, but it does require some thinking, some working with it, and definitely experience. You need to know how to work the deck in order to make it function properly. So if you guys have any questions about how the deck works or anything like that, if you need better clarification on stuff, please be sure to ask me in the comments down below. Also, I'll have the kind of general sideboard that I like to use. It varies here and there depending on what I play against, but from time to time it'll pretty much be the same. So the sideboard's going to be down in the description below, as well as the deck list, so please be sure to check that out. The playlist also with all the previous archived decks. And if you guys enjoyed this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up, a favorite, and subscribe to the channel for future deck techs. So until next time, guys, have a wonderful, fun-filled Magic the Gathering day.